So this tutorial is to teach you how to do the little butterflies. I'm missing one here, as you can see. This is the beaded trinket box, the Dovecote. The tutorial is available in my Etsy shop and on my website. I decided to make the tutorial as a video rather than a PDF file because brick stitch is a little bit trickier to handle. And too many photographs and you really can't see what you're doing. You'll need about 1 meter of thread, a few different coloured delicate beads, some dark grey, 1 number 8 and 7 number 15s. The pattern is, the colour chart, is included in the tutorial for the trinket box. So we're going to start off with the ladder stitch row, which is straight across the middle and it's marked on the tutorial with a red arrow. So we need to make a chain of 5 of the dark blue delicate beads. That's 4 of them, and there's 5. And the next one is a dark grey. So this is just the start of the body. So this is the last of the 5 dark blue beads on the other side. Now you need to turn your work over so that your thread's exiting upwards. You pick up 2 beads and this is a decrease. So we're going to go through the second loop. Just pass your needle under the second loop. I don't know why, but decreased beads for me never sit properly. So what I do is come up through that bead, you see that they don't sit side by side. So come back down through the first bead, back up through the second bead, pull tight that little loop. Obviously taking care not to do that. That little loop will disappear underneath the 2 beads and force them to sit side by side. A single stitch is just coming under the next thread loop and back up through the bead you've just picked up. So if we follow the pattern, we now need to use 2 grey beads. It's so tricky trying to see the beads and watch the camera and keep it all in shot at the same time. I'm sorry. Right, there we go. So you now need to repeat the 4 beads on the other side. Again, we flip our work over so that the thread's coming out the top left. We're going to pick up 2, and this is again a decrease. So we're going under the second loop. So I'm going to go through those 2 beads again. So you just need to follow along the 3rd row from the colour chart, and I'll come back when I've done that. So here we are, that's the 3rd row done. This time we're going to increase at the beginning of the row. So pick up 2, because you always pick up 2 when you start brick stitch. But because it's an increase, we go under the 1st loop. And the joy of increasing, as you'll see in a moment, is that you don't need to do that silly loop, because they will sit side by side. What I should have mentioned at the beginning of the tutorial was you need about 1 metre to bead the butterfly. 1 metre of thread. Anybody that knows me knows I love file line joins, but it's not recommended for brick stitch, simply because you've got to get under that loop every time, and sometimes it won't click through in a nice way. So it's best just to use the 1 length of thread. So just duplicate this side and the other side. Then you'll notice when I've added the next bead that there seems to be nowhere else to put that 4th bead on. See, we need to put another one there. What we do, if I could pick up a bead, possibly, there we go, is we're going to push the needle through. Try to aim for the sort of the join between the previous row, 2 beads of the previous row, and then, no, hang on, I'll push the needle back so that you can see that the thread is now behind the thread that's going up into that last bead. Get it to sit nicely, and then just come back up through that last bead we've just added. It's another increase. And then duplicate that row along this edge. Increase again. This is the last row. If you look at the colour chart, this is the last row that's straight across. So on this row, we're going to add 2 of the dark grey beads. And then on the colour chart, you'll be able to see I've put a white bead above the 2 grey beads, and that's the number 8. That shows you the position of the number 8. So once we've repeated that row on this side, I've come back to show you that end bead again. So now we're going to have to work the head and all the wing tips at the top, both sides, and then at the bottom. And we're going to start on this side. So just following the pattern. It's going to be another increase row. So what we're actually going to do is work this wingtip just by its own, and then do the head and the antenna, and then the other wingtip, and I'll show you how to get from one place to the next. That's that row done. So we just simply flip it over, and we're just going to work on this wingtip here, and we'll come back to the other side when we've added the head. This one is an increase on both edges. Now we're going to start decreasing again. For those of you that haven't purchased the Trinket box tutorial, I think the video is easy enough to follow along, and you can choose your own colours. Choose your own colourway. I think these little butterflies are a great way to use up tiny amounts that you've got left over from previous projects. And there's absolutely no reason why you have to do five blue butterflies with the Trinket box. You could do them all different colours. I use the colours that are actually the flowers on the box. Doddering because I'm actually looking at the pattern on another screen, and it is correct to do the two darker blue beads here. And what you will notice when I do the other wingtip, that I make a mistake. I like to think of that as a spirit bead, so I just leave it there. But it should be the two blue ones, and that's correct in the pattern. We just need to add on the last bead on this side, on this wing tip, and then we need to reposition ourselves. So now we need to exit this grey bead in this direction. So we need to stitch through the beads. Don't worry about this, as you won't be able to see it. And there's plenty of room. I'm using a size 10 needle, so it's not tight in any way. And now we can pass up through the dark grey bead the way we want it to. We need to pick up the number 8 and 3 number 15s. Remember, this is in place of the white bead on the colour chart. So miss out the last 15 you picked up. Back through 2 15s, the 8 and the grey. We need to come back up through the adjacent grey bead and back up through the number 8. pick up 3 number 15s. Omit the last number 15 you picked up. Come back through the other 2, through the number 8 and the grey. So we've come up through the blue bead, and now we're in a position where we can bead the other wingtip in a mirror image way to this one on this side. So I'm just going to work the next couple of rows. Here we are, and you can see that bead that I've gotten wrong. But we need to work through the beads to get to that very outside wingtip. And we're repositioned for this side now. So we're almost done. The bottom 2 wings take very little time at all, and you can see why taking numerous tiny little photographs to make this butterfly would make the tutorial just insanely large. I'm also hoping that you like this way of learning as well. I might include more tutorials in this way. So we need to get from the top all the way down to the bottom. I'm just going to go down through the edge beads. And one thing I would say is if you pull this too tight, you will risk getting a curl on your beads. Sometimes you can actually do that in a deliberate way so that you actually wind up with a curl because you want one. But I want my butterfly flat. So the bottom 2 wingtips are beaded just in the agate blue. Takes no time at all to do them, really. As an added bonus, it's easier to handle now than when we started, where those first few strips are just dreadful, very fiddly. So it's just 4 beads along here. flip it over and 3 beads along this edge. So again, it's a decrease. You should be able to clearly see this on the pattern now and have an idea what you're doing. For those of you that are not working the colour chart or do not have the colour chart because you haven't purchased the pattern, use the pause button. I hold the work plenty of times, so you should be able to spot where I'm putting the beads and what colours they are, or use your own colours. So this is the last bead on this side. And then we've got to work so that we can exit the grey bead in this direction. If you're not sure when you're threading through, it's always worth checking, because what you don't want in such tiny little pieces, the white thread on the outside of the beads, it won't look very nice. And I'm just trying to second guess myself exactly where I'm going to go in order to exit that bead. I think I've got it now. Yes, that'll do it. So we pick up the last 15, come back through the grey bead. And now it has a little bit more finesse to his tail. Back up through this bead. And repeat the 2 rows the same. Now you'll notice that the thread's exiting the wrong hole. And this is an easy fix. It's just down 1 and up 1. Oops, 2 beads. That's it. And that's your little butterfly finished. You just need to end the threads now by weaving them in through your work. And then I'm going to show you how to attach the jump ring. So, yes, the wings do fold beautifully, and I think if you painted them perhaps with nail varnish or something like that, they would hold in that position. Excuse me, but I'm wanting flat butterflies. So these are 5mm jump rings that I've made myself, just using head pins. And it just gets threaded through that number 8 on the lid. Close your jump ring and be careful not to crush that top delicate bead. I've done it myself, so don't. And we are done. All the butterflies attached. Finished. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, and see you again next time. Thank you for watching.